Thank you for coming today. My name is Shirley Almeida. Actually, Shirley Brinkhead Almeida. That's for my dad. I have the privilege of speaking to you today about the 4 personality types in our study, Keys to a Successful Marriage. But before we begin, I must share with you that today is actually a monumental day for me. How the Lord works in our lives and how He has a sense of humor too. 12 years ago, a mustard seed was planted. Tracy Clan, raise your hand, Tracy, invited me to a class services Christian Writers Conference in New Mexico. There's so much more that was involved, but I'm going to make this short. We were both interested in writing, and I couldn't pass off the opportunity, so off we went. Class services is put on by Marita Littauer, who was the daughter of Florence Littauer, who actually wrote the book, Personalities. So Florence is there, her best friend and speaker, Emily Barnes, is there. Now, Emily and Bob Barnes are Sherry Torelli. They're basically her parents. Yeah, and they were business partners, and so they are all there. And that's how Tracy and I met Sherry. In Joanne's talk, she actually refers to Florence Littauer and ends her talk with a quote from Bob Barnes. So I believe it was meant to be, to share what happened when we met. So there we were with at least 900 professional Christian writers, as well as newbies, is what we were. It was amazing to see. We were all seated at the large tables, and we went around and got to know each other. And it was at this time that I found out that if you're going to write, you must also be able to speak. Because if you write a book, well, you're going to be asked to speak about it. Well, that was news to me. So when it goes to my turn to introduce myself, I go on to share my only story about speaking. So I tell my story, which is not long before this Tracy had given me a tape. And I remember I was home alone, the kids were in school, and I had this overwhelming feeling out of the blue. You're going to be a speaker. And I wasn't happy about it at all. I actually felt like I was going to cry. So as I'm telling this story to all these professionals, I tell them, so I go on to say, as I'm about to cry, I prayed out to the Lord, Lord, please, I don't want to be a speecher. Really? In front of all these people? So of course we all shared a laugh, and the entire weekend, remember, we were ridders and speechers. That was our thing the whole weekend. That was my first experience. So during our first meeting, we're told by Marita, who put it on, that the small classrooms that we were assigned to would be listed on the wall. And she said at least 2 or maybe 3 times. And if you think your name is not there, it is. Look again, it's there. So everyone rushes. They disappear to their classes. Well, I can't find my name. I cannot find my name. You can imagine how I felt. So I finally found someone, not Marita. I'm like, I'm not asking her. And she confirmed, in fact, my name wasn't there. Well, it was good. So I felt good. Okay. She looked it up, and I rushed to my class, and the class is about to start. And who was in this small classroom? Florence Littauer, sitting with the students. The class was full, and the only seat, not kidding, the only seat left was directly in front of the speaker.
Oh gosh.
And I was horrified, and I remember I mumbled and I went, do it afraid, and I just went and sat there, and I thought, well, maybe nobody noticed, especially Florence. I'm sure she didn't notice me. So that evening, everyone's excited to share about their day until it came to me. Well, by now, you just have to laugh. It's like, come on, this is just, you can't make this stuff up. I finished my story, and one of the ladies, who was the head of a women's ministry at a large church in Florida, said to me, as serious as she could be, she said, that was a divine appointment. was like surprised, and I said, really? A divine appointment? And she said, oh yes. Well, I just quickly dismissed it as, oh, she's just trying to make me feel better. And it worked. I had a great time. I'm like, oh, she's just trying to make, that was nice of her. We had a great time at this conference. It was amazing. I actually was asked to write an article. They published it. Again, long story, I won't go into it. So I still have anxiety about being a speaker, even at the thought of it. So another friend invited me to class services speaking conference. Okay, and I thought, actually, you know what? This is great, because I'll go, and once and for all, be able to dismiss any thoughts of ever becoming a speaker. Perfect. I'll go there. I'll just get it over with. So as we go, and at our first gathering, Florence is there. And I'm kind of in awe of her. She's watching as we all filed in with her beautiful smile. My friend, of course, went to the front of the class. And I just sat in the back because, well, I was just going to have fun observing everyone. Florence began by saying something to the effect that she can always tell the speakers that want to be seen. She can spot them right away. But she always picks certain ones out as they walk in. Now she starts walking through the crowd. She doesn't walk, she sort of glides. She's just so elegant. And as I'm watching and listening, she passes by me, and she quickly turns and points to me and says, so what do you want to speak about? Yeah, in front of everyone. Well, I'm stunned. I couldn't tell her, well, I really don't want to be a speaker, and I'm here just to confirm that. I just couldn't, and so I said, yeah, could you imagine? So I blurted out, everything. Yeah, here we go again, being embarrassed in front of Florence. The Florence Littauer. All I could think of is, I'm sure she doesn't remember that I'm the same person that was late for that. No. So we all go off to our small groups. Now I'm thinking we're going to be given an assignment. We'll be able to go home that evening and write it, and then come back the next day and, practice our speech, come back the next day and present it. But no, oh no. We're told we have 20 minutes. She gave us a topic, and she said, then we will be presenting them, and afterwards you'll be given a personal critique. 20 minutes. But then I go, well, I don't really care, because I'm not even supposed to be here. So I wrote something down, and I presented it, and when the critique came around, I told her the truth, the story of the tape, me crying out loud. I don't want to speak. So, but she didn't critique anything I wrote. She spent the entire time convincing me that I really should consider speaking. She said so many positive things. You're a natural, and on and on and on. So I would go back to my anxiety mode again until I realized, wait a minute. Of all the women out there that want to speak, who would ever ask you? So it was obvious that would never happen. Until today. So, for the first time, I'm the only speaker, and you can imagine when I realized that the topic would be Florence Littauer's core personalities.
Amazing.
Wow. Okay, so let's get on to the 4 personalities. 20 years before Joanne attended Titus, for the first time, she was introduced to the 4 personality types by attending a presentation by Dr. Tim LaHaye. She states that it was so incredibly helpful and important in her marriage that she never forgot the principles when it came to Titus. It not only opened the doors to understanding in her marriage, but in all of her relationships, including friends and family. Each one of us is uniquely designed by God, Psalm 139:14. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. We are delightfully different and should complement each other, and by learning the personality differences, this can actually be accomplished. Opposites attract. So once you know your personality, you'll realize that you're attracted to the opposite personality. Their strengths attract us, but the downside is their weaknesses may not. If you know the differences, though, it can be your strength. There are two basic types of personalities, extroverts and introverts. The two types of extroverts are sanguine, the talker, and choleric, the leader. The two types of introverts are the perfectionist, melancholy, and the calm, phlegmatic. Also, each of us has a primary and a secondary trait or characteristic. The percentages may vary, could be 50-50, 30-70, so keep in mind that as we go through this, it's interesting to determine your own variations. We'll start with the sanguines. When I read about the sanguines, I thought, this is great. I totally relate to this. Who wouldn't want to be a sanguine? After all, the positive traits of a sanguine are charming, warm, friendly, talkative, generous, enthusiastic, compassionate, fun, life of the party. It's a party wherever they go. These traits we love and we don't want to change. But then I read the negatives. Yeah, not feeling so good about the negatives. So, in going through each personality, before you identify your own negative traits, keep in mind the purpose of listing the negatives. This is so that you can learn how to accept and deal with your weaknesses. So, if one or more hit home, remember the 4 steps. Admit it. We tend to gloss over our weaknesses and focus on our husbands. Accept it. Not to feel bad about yourself or agonize over it. No critical self-talk. Study it. Researching the Bible, as in the fruits of the Spirit, Galatians 5:22 and 23. And then commit it. Commit yourself and your spouse to the Lord. So, keeping that in mind, the negatives of the sanguine are undisciplined, restless, weak-willed, unproductive, loud, will give in easily in order to have fun, egocentric, exaggerates, fearful and insecure, over the top, too much.
Maybe you see your friends.
So it's interesting to me, though, that the same traits can be a positive and a negative. For example, talkative. You may think she talks too much, for example, but you want her at your party, right? The second extrovert is the leader, or the choleric. The positive traits in a choleric are decisive, productive, self-sufficient, visionary, optimistic, self-confident, strong-willed, natural-born leader, runs the show. You definitely want this type at a committee meeting. But then there are the negatives. Remember? Okay, guys. Accept it. Admit it. Accept it. Study it. Commit it. Okay, it's easier to go through these when you have that in mind. The negatives of a choleric may be cold, unsympathetic, hostile, angry, cruel, sarcastic, unforgiving, opinionated, proud, dominating, determined to get their way, and will mow down anyone in the way of their goal. Now for the introverts. The introvert also has 2 types. The first is the perfectionist, or the melancholy. The positive traits of a melancholy are defined as the most gifted, friend forever, analytical, conscientious, loyal, idealistic, sensitive, dependable, self-sacrificing, self-disciplined, very giving, and will do anything for you. But then there are the negatives. Okay, guys. Admit it, accept it, study it, commit it. The negatives of a melancholy may be moody, critical, negative, rigid and legalistic, self-centered, revengeful, unsociable, perfectionist, feelings of they are out to get me and I want to get them back. And the fourth and last personality is the calm phlegmatic. Phlegmatics are the most appealing in a lot of ways. They're cool as a cucumber, calm and quiet, easygoing, likable, diplomatic, dependable, conservative, practical, dry humor, so wicked wit, so pay attention. And now for the negatives and for the last time. Admit it, accept it, study it, commit it. Thank you. The negatives of the phlegmatic are set in their ways, they won't budge, they may be idle, spectator in life, unmotivated, selfish, stingy, stubborn, quiet, self-protective, indecisive, fearful, a reluctant leader, but are excellent leaders when they do. The four personalities also react to stress differently. For example, the sanguine may blame others, leaves, goes shopping, needs to find fun. I just gotta go find some fun. The choleric may work harder, tighten control, doing more, exercising more. The melancholy, he may get depressed, just gives up, withdraws, goes in the room, closes the door. And the phlegmatic hides from it, watches TV, and may just eat. So do your own research. There are many books available. And of course, I recommend Florence's. Also reference your Bible and have fun discovering more about yourself and the others in your life. I'd like to end, as Joanne did, with a quote from Bob Barnes in his book, What Makes a Man Feel Loved? In his book, he writes about something he calls being a reflective mirror. That's what we need to be in our spouse's life, a reflective mirror. He states positive reflecting will make your spouse feel good about himself and about you. But it will also change the way you feel as you look for the positive and overlook the negative. You will become happier about your marriage and the person you married. This will happen even if your spouse doesn't change at all. In a difficult marriage, ask God for understanding and the ability to do what is humanly impossible. Jesus is our model, and in reflecting our marriage partner positively, we are following his example.